Are you living the Delaware Beach lifestyle? You can't live at the beach and do nothing. This up-and-coming year-round area has lots to offer. Find out where to eat, play, and serve. Living the ultimate dream.
Hey guys, in this episode, you are going to meet Barry with Gadgets for Geezers. Yes, you heard it. Gadgets for Geezers. It's so funny. Stumbled across him on Nextdoor, actually. And after hearing and seeing what this gentleman does for the community, we had to have him on the show, especially if you are over 55 or any age group, really, and you're just looking for somebody who just genuinely cares about what they're doing. They're not in this for money. They're just trying to genuinely help people and just enjoy technology. Barry separated from 25 years of being in law, and then got into the technology business with his daughter. But after moving here full time, stumbled across doing this as a passion accidentally, and it got recommended to him to open this as a business. And since then, he has been helping others near Peninsula and surrounding areas set up technology things. And some of the things that we're talking about is security. So there's been a recent horrible death from a break-in out in Dagsboro, and having things like smart devices, security cameras and doorbells and things like that can definitely help deter or catch people that are doing things in our neighborhoods. So Barry is one of the guys that is going to help you set this up. If you're struggling with technology or somebody that says, oh, I don't know how to do this, stay tuned. You're going to meet Barry and all kinds of tips and tricks on how to keep you and your family safe in this area. And I am just so excited to have him on. Here we go. 302 Lifestyle. We got Barry, Gadgets for Geezers. Hey guys, welcome to the 302 Lifestyle Beach Podcast. We have Barry in the house, and funny story, I was on Nextdoor looking for something, of course, and I saw the funniest business name, if you will, for geezers, and I just wanted, and it caught my attention, and I reached out to Barry to kind of be on because I thought his approach to helping people was so unique, and I didn't really realize that there was such a huge need for that in the area. And a lot of people moving here are 55 and older, and they're having issues with technology or their computers and all kinds of different devices. And Barry, he kind of speaks their language. And sometimes if I'm trying to help someone, I actually have done IT most of my life. I was in the military. I did IT. And when I would try to help someone, like my grandparents or something, I didn't realize that there was that language barrier where they just, I was going too fast or something. And so when I read about, how you approach this, I didn't even think that there's like a language in generations and stuff, and that you speak that and you're willing to reach out and help out. And Barry, I'm rambling on here, but you practiced law for 25 years, and now you're helping geezers, as you say. What is your business that you're doing, and how did you get into this?
Okay. Well, that's a mouthful.
Yeah.
The business is Gadgets for Geezers. And essentially, simply put, we do, or I do, technology tutoring, as I say, for those of us of a certain age. We provide a simple education for those that are a little older and are intimidated by technology, as many people are. And the tutoring is done by myself, a certified geezer of the same age. And as you mentioned before, I speak the language, or at least I can relate to the things they're going through. And I have, my wife would say I don't, at least with her, but I have a patience that I think translates over to the people that I have worked with, which again, my area, special niche is working with people, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and I consider my contemporaries. So they're not going to their kids or their grandkids or somebody's young son that goes through things very quickly without the explanations. And a lot of the younger people don't know the issues that those of us that are older experience. Some of them are a little different. So that's essentially, what I do. Gadgets for Geezers. What we do, I guess there are three areas, and I think I've added a fourth. How to use a device or devices, how to get the most out of devices. Setup, how do you set up a phone? How do you set up your router? How do you set up a printer or a laptop? Issues that you have, the issue that we had just a little while before we came on with the internet, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Advice on the best way to go about doing things, advice on products. What is the best video doorbell, or what do I think is the best video doorbell, for instance? And then recently, I found myself acting in, and I guess it's the lawyer in me that loved this, as a consumer advocate. I had a situation recently where I had somebody who called me to come over. They had just purchased a new cell phone from one of these cellular stores. And what was happening is that the messages, it was an iPhone, and the messages and emails were going back and forth between the husband and wife. They were getting each other. And when I looked into it, I saw that essentially what had happened was that the person who set it up had used the husband's Apple ID for the wife's phone. So even though they had two different numbers, they were tied to one singular account. And what really got me was that the cellular store charged them $20 to set up. Apple iPhones have the easiest setup in the entire world. You get a new phone, an Apple phone, you take your old one and you lay the new one. You just hold it over the old one. I'm serious. And the setup begins. It's that simple. And here this store was charging $20 for setup that they did wrong. And that sort of got my blood boiling. So since then, I've found myself 2 or 3 times approaching some of these cellular stores with the people I've worked with.
Ooh, so I am loving all of this. So there was a little mouthful on that. So I think I got the 4 things. So it's how to use something, a gadget, how to set up a gadget, security gadgets, so doorbells, security cameras, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then consumer advocate for issues they may run into that, with your lawyer, your law background, you can help kind of do that.
Well,
right?
It hasn't been a situation where I've approached it from that standpoint.
Okay.
But when I realize what's going on, I've actually walked into the stores with the people. You asked about, or you mentioned about, how to use and set up. What I really like doing a lot, and I find there's a need for it, is how to appreciate the device that you have. There is so much. I'm going to take the iPhone, but Android is the same. There are so many features that these phones have that are extremely helpful that people just don't know. They're not going to read the manuals cover to cover. And so many of these features are hidden. For instance, a little tip to everybody watching. On an iPhone, when you're going to type in an email or a text, for that matter, a lot of times you type in a word, maybe you dictate it, you see the word is wrong. And you want to put that cursor back to take that word or change the letter. So what do? you put your finger on the little cursor and you try to move it. And that's not easy to try to move. I need to take the I out. So I want to put it between the I and the E. Well, Apple happens to have made that extremely easy. Hold your finger on the space bar, hold it down, and then slide your finger back and forth, and the cursor will slide back and forth wherever you want.
That is so funny that you just said that, because about an hour ago, I was literally trying to do that very thing. And I'm like, and every now and then it would do that for me, where it would like get big and then I could slide my finger around and put it where I want it. But I could never figure out how to make that happen. It would just happen randomly sometimes.
Yeah. Another area, just staying with that, for instance, is a lot of times you want to put a period in, and you have to go to a different keyboard to put the period in. Double tap quickly the space bar that puts a period in.
Holy cow, you are blowing my mind here. So I am taking some notes. Double tap the space bar to put in a period. Wow, I love it.
These are just two simple features that are available on the iPhone, but it could be any device. That there are features that are built in. Most people don't read manuals cover to cover. Yeah. I'm guilty. Yeah, I'm guilty of reading them cover to cover, and because I enjoy it, which is weird, but I do. And that's when you discover, oh, I didn't know it could do that, and it does.
I love it, yeah. And how many times do I do something, or I struggle with something, and then I finally read the manual, and I'm like, man, if I would have just did this from the beginning, I could have saved myself a lot of time, which time is the most important thing we have. So to save yourself time on things like this is a big deal.
So that's what I do. Working how to use, as I say, how to appreciate the devices, issues, your routers. Many people, especially in this community, will complain about their speed. What's that about? How do they test their speed? I will come over, help them realize, well, that you need to upgrade your router, or you need an extender for a particular room. That's the kind of advice, how to set it up. One of the biggest areas of issues I see are people connecting printers. Boy, I hate connecting printers.
Oh yeah, the printers. Oh yeah.
Connecting a printer. Now most printers are Wi-Fi connected. You don't use that serial cable as much. And even for me, connecting printers can really be a challenge. And a lot of people, especially again my age, they read, and there are no manuals with devices anymore. I don't know if you've noticed that. It's it's a couple of pictures, and then it's a link to go online. And someone goes, what's going on here? Yeah. So, and with printers especially, it's tough. And I would say of all the calls that I've gotten, at least half of them involve printer issues.
And that's interesting that you said that. I lived down in Las Vegas, and I worked IT at a company at night while I worked for them at a normal job during the day. And 90% of the problems we ran into and the stuff that I was fixing was printer issues.
And absolutely. It's crazy. Gadgets for Geezers came about actually. I have to thank my daughter who co-founded a software technology company in California. I was doing some tutorials. I began in my community, live tutorials, and they were growing in size. And some of them would be about iPhones, but then I did a couple of tutorials on new devices. I along with several other people, we annually had put on a a technology Christmas guide, technology gifts, for the holiday season.
Oh, that's a good one.
That sort of led to the formation of, I helped in the formation of a technology committee in the Peninsula Technology Committee, to address the technology issues that we all have. And that led to my getting calls within the community. Hey, Barry, we heard, can you come over? Can you do this? Well, my daughter's visiting us, and she sees me leave, and she sees me come home about 2 hours later with a bottle of wine. And she said, Dad, you were there for 2 hours. That's what they gave you? And I said, yeah, Jim, And she said, you could turn this into a business. And I said, well, I'm not really looking to do that. And she said, but you really like this. As Karen, my wife, says, I'm a frustrated school teacher. And so the more she talked about it, the more, as I say, I enjoyed it. And we both came up with this Gadgets for Geezers name. And so that's really how things started.
So doing what you love by accident.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Doing what I love by accident. So, again, it's a loose kind of situation. I take calls, from people, and less during, unfortunately, our COVID situation. I was, just before the COVID situation, I was about to do seminars at the Indian River Senior Center in Millsboro. And hopefully we'll start those up again.
So at the Indian River Senior Center, they do like little classes and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So you're saying you were going to go there and actually do like seminars on stuff that people need.
Right. I'd spoken to the director who found, I came through that. I'm going to give a shout out to Pat Fox here, somebody that I worked with. And she recommended that I meet, and she's on the board of directors with the director at the senior center. We talked about it. This was just before COVID. And I was going to launch kind of a series of tutorial sessions.
Ooh, I love this. So you threw out a couple of nuggets that I want to recap on. So you mentioned your daughter was a co-founder at a technology company you guys had out in California. So
Well, she, not me.
Okay, so give everyone the recap on you. So you were 25 years in law, right?
Yeah.
That transitioned into
well, I was doing some work towards the end in this cellular technology space, and just very quickly, because it's kind of boring, but I met a few people, and we helped patent a lost and found cellular technology, which we marketed. I was a co-founder of the company Secure Connections, and we marketed the technology, and then we sold that technology to a larger company in 2010. And that's really how I became more involved in the knowledge base of cellular communications.
Okay. So more specifically then with the technology aspect of this, you're really well versed with the cellular side of things then. So that's where that comes from. That's pretty neat.
Yeah. And there's a love there, I always have, of technology. So it extends way beyond cellular communication. I just love technology. As I have a great saying, technology is wonderful when it works. It doesn't always work, but when it does work, it's wonderful. And we live in an age now, there's no escaping it. It surrounds us. It's part of our life.
Yeah, if you're fighting technology, you're really going against the current, and it's designed to help you, really, if you're working right.
But if it's working right, so somebody the other day referred to me as she used a word that I hadn't heard in a long time. She said, Barry, you're a digitarian. which just really translates to someone who has technical knowledge. And I said, yeah, I guess I'm a senior citizen digitarian.
Vegetarian, is that?
Yeah, it's an esoteric word that,
Yeah.
but I thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah, it's there now. Okay, so this is really good stuff. So, on top of, kind of discovering this passion of yours and turning it into, a small business, that I think it's really nice, though, that you're in a position in life to be able to offer services like this at a fair rate, I'm sure, because it's not something you need to do.
Yeah.
And
That
you're
was,
genuinely,
yeah, that was an issue in the beginning that I, again, discussed with my daughter, the aspect of what to charge. And I wanted to be fair about it. And, in the beginning, I have to say, I felt guilty. I was enjoying what I was doing with the people and charging them. So as far as charging, I work with the people in terms of affordability. I essentially, if I come to your house, I charge $35 an hour, but I'll work with people on that. I then many times get follow-up calls, and I don't charge anybody, for advice that I give over the phone. So,
yeah, it's funny. I have a business coach. I've always had some type of mentor or business coach or something. And I mean, I think one of the most important things I've discovered in my life is, a question I've been asked is, what would you do that you could live off of, but you would love it to do it so much that you would do it for free?
yeah.
And so that's something I always ask myself, like, is this something that I would do for free? Because if you find that thing that you love in your life, 9 times out of 10, you're going to feel guilty for charging people because you love it.
That's so funny you say that, because in the beginning, I really did. I remember, the first time, and again, keep referring, if my daughter watches this, she's probably going to be going. She said, what do you, your time is worth money. What do you, why are you feeling guilty? You're providing a service. And I realize that I am, while I'm having fun with it. So, I have the business. I'd love to work with, whomever calls me. I don't push the business. Maybe I should more. For those of you out there, I am available. What's that saying? It's a kind of a labor of love.
Yeah. So something else you mentioned too is, about the charging and stuff. One time I was out, what were we doing? I think we were out to eat with a couple, and they wanted to pay for our meal. And so I learned something before. I'll say no once, but if you insist, then I'm not going to feel guilty. Well, I used to feel like, oh, no, you don't need to do that. I want you to do that. And someone, I think it was my wife, mentioned, well, why would you take that away from them? You know what I mean? Yeah. So sometimes I learned too, when you're doing a service and people want to pay you for something, sometimes, allowing that person to feel better about themselves, giving you something in return, so they don't feel guilty. Sometimes it's a
mutual, you're right.
It's a mutual thing. Yeah. That's really cool.
That's a really good point. You're right about that. There's the other side of things too.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Barry, this is really cool. So you mentioned all kinds of good stuff about common questions and common problems that people are having. And one of the passionate things that we got involved with the cleaning industry, my wife and I have a cleaning company, if you're listening. Well, we got so passionate about doing this because when we first moved out here, my parents moved to Lewis many years ago. And when we first came out here, we started hearing stories about people getting ripped off or getting taken advantage of, especially the senior community. And, I just imagine my poor Graham, someone taking advantage of her. And so I was like, you know what, we need to kind of step up. I'm military. And so I just wanted to provide something that where people can trust who's coming there and a fair price and all that stuff. So anyways, one of the things I started looking into was, man, I feel like a lot of the seniors don't understand the technology well enough to get a security doorbell or some type of camera system.
Yeah.
And so for a long time, I worked with a company where I would go and help set up, different types of doorbells and things like that. So that's something that you do. So that's really awesome. I would love to promote you in our cleaning world, because we have so many people, 65 and up, that it's just the technology part isn't there, and their grandkids aren't here. And it's really nice to know that you offer that. So what are some other things that you've seen where people could use, that you've helped people set up? Any tips and tricks on some of this stuff?
Well, you mentioned one of the areas that I'm pretty passionate about, video doorbells. They're not hard to do. They really aren't. I mean, if you have some skill at drilling and putting in a few screws, that's probably the most work on putting these up. Manufacturers today, or technology producers today, have made setup easier and easier. As I mentioned about the iPhone, you lay the new one over the top of the other one. They've made it so simple. And many of these, they're called Internet of Things devices. Those are just basically devices that connect to the internet signal you have in your house. That is, those are much easier to set up than you would think. It's the intimidation factor that you have to get over. Oh, I've got to open up this app. I've got to download this app.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing that I really run into. It's not that the people couldn't do this. It's getting over that intimidation of technology. So you asked me about some of the areas that certainly video connections. How best to to improve your signal. What streaming devices? How do I connect streaming devices? Internet is a huge area that I've worked with. How to improve your internet, how to find out. So a little tip. There is an app called Speed Test, and it's available on both iPhone and the Android. And there are several speed tests, so look for the one by Ookla, that's Ookla. Download that app. It's super simple. You press the circular test button, tap it in the middle.
Yep.
Start out by standing by your router and seeing what the speed reading is. Most people today that have cable internet, fiber optic internet, most people that have those connections have a speed of 50 megabytes things downloading and 50 megabytes things uploading. So that's about the normal. If you know what your speed is, that's good. Test it in front of the router. You should be getting at least that speed. Then walk around the house. Walk to various areas that you use and see what happens, because internet connectivity degrades. The signal degrades the further away from the router that you go. And you're going to reach some points in the house where you go, wow, I hardly have any signal at all. Well, that's telling you, that the signal is degraded to that point. So what do? Well, if it's a room you use quite a bit, or that you're in quite a bit, look into getting an extender. They have a number of extenders. The extender it's an access point. It connects to your router and it boosts the signal in that particular area. So that is another of the big areas that I've found myself helping people with.
So what I'm hearing you say, with some tips and tricks, is a lot of times it's not just that they can't do something, it's the intimidation of being scared to do it, or having this mindset, oh, I just don't understand computers, or I just don't get technology.
Yeah.
So they kind of limit themselves. But it's really just the overall mindset of saying, well, maybe I could just try it.
Yeah. And they have to have somebody, I guess, maybe in a way, Dylan, I look at myself as part of what I do is maybe helping to push them to realize that they can do this, that without the, again, the younger people, oh, come on, you don't know this? How could you not know this? That's not an approach, obviously that I take. And what I'm hoping is, not only that I fix their issue, but perhaps I've led them to feel more confident about themselves in doing what they do, or in taking on, a technology product or device.
Well, that's interesting too, because I think a lot of times, you made an interesting point about sometimes people say, "Well, how could you not know how to do this?" Or "It's so easy. You just have to download this thing."
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
And so I think a lot of times people worry so much about that alone that they just choose not to explore anything because they're scared of feeling that way.
Well, absolutely. Many people that have moved into newer homes today have thermostats that are smart thermostats that could be controlled by your phone, by Alexa. The Delaware Cooperative Electric Company here has a program called Beat the Peak in the summer. And essentially what they want you to do is turn your thermostat up, during the peak hours, in the summer, and, the opposite in the winter if you have electric heat. So they have this program, Beat the Heat, or Beat the Peak. You can connect your thermostat to their server, and it's not hard to do. And if you do that, they actually have a program where they give you additional savings, that rebates per month. Well, who doesn't want to see savings, especially on heating and air conditioning?
Yeah.
But you have to connect that device. So, you have seniors who would look at this, or people go, "Ah, that's too hard." It really isn't hard. Their instructions are pretty easy, but it's another example.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And that may even be the headline: "Save money on your utility bill. Learn how."
Yeah, who doesn't want to do that? And they have a program that is there, and you have, in many respects, again, people who've moved into new homes, they already have that device. They don't have to go out and buy it.
Mm-hmm. So our home was built back in the late 90s, but and we have an office where I started with just a couple of thermostats for the office, and then eventually I migrated it to our house, and then I added on a Blink camera, which, by the way, has no monthly fees. And then just recently, our garage door opener broke, so I got the smart garage door opener, and then I ended up adding.
I love it.
Now, someone comes in my house and I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" My mom, for instance, she always gives me crap about it, because like, "Oh my gosh, you got all this technology," and I'm like, "Actually, it was really easy, and it's just one little thing at a time."
Yeah, you're a totally connected person, Dylan.
Yeah,
I do have to say, it can get interesting at times. We have a number of smart home devices, the lights and the doorbells and other things, and like many people, I have connected it to a voice portal. In our case, Alexa. So Alexa, turn on this lamp, that lamp. We went out of town a couple years ago, and we invited old friends, to, "Hey, we're not going to be at our house. Why don't you come down and stay at the beach? You're not going to, you don't have to pay for any lodging." I found myself having to. My wife finally said, "What are you, out of your mind?" I had a 2-page list of, okay, this is how you turn on this light. You say this, you say that. So I did realize that, at the end of the day, I guess I can just flip the switch.
Yeah, that's so funny.
But but it's more fun to tell the devices what to do.
And you do feel like you got like, the Mission Impossible house or something, with like,
Yeah.
Tom Cruise or
Yeah.
something.
I may appreciate it. I don't know that they appreciated it.
Yeah, that's so funny that I thought you were gonna say something where, Alexa saved the day because you could just say, "Hey, unlock the door for them" or something, but that
Well, it
happens
does.
too.
No, it really can. But you have to know what to say. That's
Yeah.
the next thing, and it'll happen with artificial intelligence improving
Yep.
that you don't have to be specific. Because I find myself sometimes saying, you have to say the specific words, and I want to
Yep.
turn on that light and I go, wait a minute, what am I calling that light? Is that the
Yeah.
bedroom, bathroom, whatever? So,
Yeah.
right now you have to say specific words, and that can, that can be hard.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm loving all this. And funny thing is, my wife is home. Well, I shouldn't be saying this on podcast, but my wife's, at the home. Well, I guess it doesn't matter now because we're all securityed out, but she's home a lot by herself.
Yeah.
And I was worried about that. There's been a lot of break-ins lately. Well, what was it? Just in Dagsboro, the police officer, that whole horrible thing that just happened there. So I'm like, that's why I was so excited to have you on, because I think this is some easy, small things that people can do to protect themselves. Because if a burglar or someone's going to walk up to your driveway and they see a camera there or some type of ring security system, a lot of times they won't do it anymore because they don't want to be caught on camera or something. And what is just a great, simple way to protect yourself and your family and your house.
And let me follow that thought a little further. We have an enclosed community, but a few months ago, a couple of kids got in, and they were going to cars that were parked in the driveway that were unlocked and taking whatever was in. And they were caught on several people's video doorbells, because you can go back, you could see them. And so that led us, again, as our Peninsula Technology Committee, to suggest that everybody, or as many people as you can, put these doorbells, video doorbells up, because especially in a community, an enclosed community, what does it do? Well, if every house along the road has a video doorbell, and you've got something like what happened with these break-ins, you're seeing these people walk,
everything, the cars,
this video, this video. It really is a security advantage and benefit. So I highly recommend these video doorbells. They're easy to do. They're not hard. Again, there's the intimidation factor, but you should have them.
Yeah. And Barry, so just before we get too far into this, I just want to tell you guys, if you're trying to get a hold of Barry, or you're listening and maybe your parents or grandparents, or maybe you yourself are listening and you're interested in any of these things and you're a little overwhelmed by this stuff, Barry, you can get a hold of him by going to gadgetsforgeezers.net.
Yeah.
And we're going to put all the links down below, and Barry will definitely hook you up, giving him shouting out to him to get a hold of him. I don't think I worded that right. Get a hold of Barry. We'll put all the links down below and the phone numbers and everything, so you guys can reach out to Barry.
To reach me, gadgetsforgeezers@gmail.com.
Okay.
As an email. And if you don't mind, I'm happy to give out my phone number.
We'll put all the links down below, guys, so you can reach out to him. And social media, actually, I found him on Nextdoor, which, by the way, is a great community involvement to help you guys protect yourselves and your family members. So great. Now, Barry, I'm so interested. So now you spent some time away. You were coming here to visit and vacation here a lot, and then you guys ended up making the plunge to stay here full time. We're seeing this area as more of a year-round community. Now, how has your transition been? I know you started telling me a little bit about this, but how has the transition, because we might have some people listening from different cities around here. Um, what can people expect when they move here? What type of changes have you made since you've been here, and how has it improved your life?
Well, improve my life is really the relaxation and the pace of things. But I can remember maybe 30 years ago or thereabouts, driving in front of BB Hospital and looking at that original building, which was really pretty much all we had, and saying, whoa, that's the hospital. And now I look at that facility and how it has grown, and the medical infrastructure in this area has just grown exponentially as people have moved in. So if you're worried, I guess I would say to people, if you're worried about leaving, the comfort of the medical,
Hmm.
your medical background and where you live, you don't be. I mean, we're from the Washington, D.C. and Maryland, and I still keep a couple of doctors up there just because I had a long relationship with them. But otherwise, I feel fully comfortable with the physicians that I've met here. As far as telling people, what to expect, or what was the biggest transition for us, again, we were familiar with the area, but we hadn't lived here full time. So what do we miss? Well, we certainly miss Whole Foods and Trader Joe's, among other things. I'll say that. I miss I miss the city, Washington. For me, it was Washington, D.C. and the arts, not being near the Capitol, the Kennedy Center and so forth. It's a longer drive, although the Freeman Center is now putting more and more productions on. And airports in DC, we have 3 airports all within about 30 minutes now. 2 hours.
That's a big one, actually.
That is a big one. I'm not going to hide that. That is a big one. The closest airport here is either Philly or BWI, and they're both a little over 2 hours away. So that's taken some getting used to. But, if you're going to travel, you're going to have to make plans. Some people fly out of Salisbury, and maybe that'll grow a little more. But the amount of even in the winter, and we noticed this a while back, Rehoboth isn't. And Ocean City has become winterized, as I kind of call it. The Rehoboth and Lewis, for that matter, it never sleeps. Is, maybe some stores do close, but every restaurant is open. It's actually, for those of us that live here full time, the best time to go to restaurants. Matter of fact, there's a restaurant in Lewis who will remain nameless that doesn't take reservations and regularly has an hour and a half to 2 hour waits. Those of you that live here know which restaurant I'm talking about. I remember a couple of years ago in February, we went called up to see what the wait was, figuring it was hour, maybe at the most. It's February, and they said no, it's 3.5 hour wait, and we went, wow. What? And I said, why? And they said, oh, well, it's the chocolate festival in Rehoboth. Well, so there's an active life here for people that are thinking it isn't a small beach town. I mean, it has that feel to it, but.
Well, just 10 years ago, so we moved here 10 years ago, and in the wintertime, you would see maybe 2 cars going down the road in the wintertime, and usually construction workers or something.
Right.
But just in the past, I would say 5 years, you've really noticed just full on traffic all year round.
Yeah, there's absolutely. And, as I said, I do a lot of bike riding, and I have, for years, and it's how I discovered a lot of the, as I call them, the back roads, the alternate routes. So we live off Route 24. I would go down Beaver Dam Road or Robinsonville Road. They were empty. Well, that's no longer the
Yeah.
case if you look at the developments along there. So, summer times are a bit of a challenge, getting around. Our favorite place, by the way, although we like Rehoboth, we love Lewis. Love,
Lewis?
yeah, love
Oh yeah,
Lewis.
yeah, yeah. Lewis, what a great place.
It is. It's a small New England town. It keeps its charm even in the summer. That and Henlopen State Park.
Yep.
They're two of the greatest things about living here.
All right, now Barry, we're just transitioning perfectly into some of the next questions. So, coming here from DC, you're discovering that this area has some really great places to eat. What is one of your favorite places to eat? And it could be Lewis, Rehoboth, Bethany. What do you got?
Well, several. That nameless restaurant that, since you're asking, is Agave,
Yep.
and it's if you like the food, it's great. We love fish on. Uh, One of the absolute great places here, Surf Bagel.
Yeah.
Shout out to the people at Surf Bagel. My daughter, who is in California, years ago, was living in New York, and she considered herself at that time a New Yorker. And she came here, and I was telling the owners, my daughter paid you the highest compliment. She took bagels home to New York. What better compliment could you pay pay a bagel place than? So we love Surf Bagel, fish on. In Rehoboth, we actually we love the big fish. A little noisy, but it's always great.
Yeah.
Nicole's, I'm going through the standards here. A place that we recently discovered that there aren't, interestingly enough, there aren't that many restaurants that are on the water here. Dylan, if you think about it.
That's funny you said that. I noticed that too.
Yeah, we're missing. You would think there'd be a ton. Now there's several in Lewis, but there aren't that many. We discovered one, not discovered, but have been going there. Even before COVID, on the rocks at the ferry depot. It's great.
Yeah, I forgot that there's a place to eat in there.
It is it used to be, I think, just a bar and kind of a snack bar, but it's a full-on restaurant with outdoor seating. You go there, like towards the sunset. It's you see the ferry coming in. It's wonderful, wonderful place.
Now, on the topic of restaurants, we just had on the show Chef Gigi from the Roz in Lewis, and oh my heavens, we went to eat there, and the food is so good down there. If you haven't checked it out, the Roz. But yeah, there's just so many restaurants. When we first came here from Las Vegas, that's the thing that we thought, oh man, we're missing out on all the restaurants and stuff.
Yeah.
But holy cow, when you start eating out here, there is just a huge community of just amazing food places, and it's more and more.
I was touching on some of the bigger names. I'm having brain drain now on some of the smaller places. So I would tell people thinking about moving here from, like you say, the cities. Sure, you're not going to have the same restaurants that you knew, but as far as the spread of the types of food and cuisine and how good the food is, it's really excellent.
Yeah, and you're getting like really good fresh seafood in some of the places you're going out to, and
absolutely
love it. Now, Barry, you mentioned bike riding. So, where's some of your favorite places to go bike riding at?
Well,
just in Peninsula.
Back home, in Maryland, I did most of my riding was trail off the road, and I did some road riding here. When I would come down for weekends and so I'd do road riding. And I was not intimidated to travel on any of the roads. I would do fairly long bike rides, and I'd go any of the roads here. But there's more traffic, and and it can become a bit of a challenge. I have a 30-mile route that keeps me off of most of the main roads right near where I live in off 24 and Longman. So I'm going down to Massey's Landing and then over, by the restaurant Serendipity and in the back there. And again, it keeps me off some of the main roads.
Now that area back there in Peninsula, that's definitely growing. I've already seen several developments popping up down there. Now you're a little ways away from actually the downtown Lewis, but the pricing is a little bit better out towards Long Neck as far as if someone's trying to look.
I would say probably so. Yeah. You mentioned Lewis. I love Henlopen Park. I ride there not infrequently. I actually became friends with an orthopedic surgeon here who got me into fat tire biking on the sand. He's an insane person. And
wait, biking on the sand?
Yeah.
What, with the big giant tires?
I thought I would die. He was riding from the point and loping all the way to Rehoboth, I thought I'd die. But I love riding. There are trails in Henlopen State Park that are wonderful, and the Georgetown Lewis Trail that is, I guess it's maybe halfway. I'm not sure. That is going, when it hits Georgetown, it's going to be a gem. One of my favorite rides, and I'll tell people, you really want to get a taste of this area and how wonderful it is. Do a circuit. Start in Henlopen Park and take the trail from the Gordon Pond Trail into Rehoboth. You come in on what I call the back side and ride through Rehoboth and then come out and get the Breakwater Trail back. Two different trails. It's it's about 16, 17 miles a round trip, thereabouts. It's a wonderful ride, just wonderful. That Gordon Pond Trail is a natural wonder.
It's the second time I've heard someone say that on here anyways. Now, have you made the big long trip from Dewey into Bethany Beach across the bridge? And it's
on a bike?
Yeah, on the bike.
I have. Well, first of all, the bridge is the only hill of any sort.
Well, wait a minute. One way is going slightly up, I think. And then
they're both
the way
up.
back.
I've done the round trip and they're both up. But
okay.
Somebody told me this, and especially if you do the Route 1 ride, somebody told me this, and it's true. What this area lacks for hills, if you're looking, if you're a rider and you really wanted some hills for working out, what it lacks for hills, it makes up more than enough in wind.
In wind?
Wind, yes.
Oh, yeah. Because it pushes you, right?
Pushes you one way, but if you're doing that round trip, enjoy it pushing you, because it's going to kill you on the way back.
And now, talking about technology, you can get this is cheating, but you can get the bikes with a little battery on it. So in case you're struggling a little bit.
Electric bikes are going to grow and grow. What I'm hoping that we're going to see it more and more down here. Be prepared for seeing a proliferation of e-scooters, the old push scooters, where you stand 2 feet on a board. They're all over the cities now, and they'll hit this area. They'll start to rent those out.
No, I looked into that. My wife and I, because in the city, I'm like, oh man, what a great business idea for the beach area. And we looked into it, and the cost. You're right though. It'll be here someday.
Oh, it's going to be.
But I did look into that, and it's a little expensive for maintenance and
it is
getting it started. But
most cities now have those kiosks.
Oh yeah.
E-bikes. Well, again, you're speaking technology. Interestingly, I do not have an e-bike, although I considered it.
They're expensive.
If I added one more bike, again, Karen would kill me.
Yeah, I mean they're good, $1,000 or more for.
Yeah, but they are. Actually, I'm going to refer people to a great site it's called Bikes Direct. You want to buy a bike?
Thread.
Bikesdirect.com.
Oh, okay.
You want to buy a bike? That's the place to look at. Their bikes are factory direct to them. They have amazing prices. They sell every type of bike you could want. They were one of the few places that had an inventory during COVID because most stores were out. Their e-bikes they have many e-bikes that are affordable. E-bikes are really pretty cool. I mean, if you use it, for partly what it's intended. You ride, you use the motor for when the wind's in your face.
Yeah. And that's a must-have, especially, you're riding around with some health conditions or something, having that extra backup for yourself is.
Yeah, they're fun. I mean, it's one way to get people out. If you do a little of the pedaling. And the one thing about e-bikes, sure, you can use the motor for 100%. But what they really do that a lot of people don't realize is the motor can be used to assist. So you pedal, but the motor helps you. So you're going up a hill or into the wind, you pedal, but it gives you that little assist.
Boost.
Yeah,
love it. Now, Barry, and I can feel the passion about just technology and all different arrays of things, and I think it's really great that you're helping people, and I think this is what the 302 lifestyle is all about, and I think this is why my wife and I become so passionate. She's actually from California. She's Filipino. And we've become we just love this area. I've been all over the country, and you just get 4 seasons, but none of them are too bad. You kind of have you get the beach life, but it's not too bad. It's just like a nice mix of just a good life here.
Yeah, there's enough. The people that are moving here now are coming into an infrastructure that is pretty solid. It wasn't that way 30 years, 20 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, not as much. But in the last 5 years, wow.
I mean, we definitely I'm trying to have somebody on the show that deals with infrastructure with the road system here. try to get some insight on, improvements on that. I don't even know how they would do it because, I see eventually this is going to be like Virginia Beach or something because there's so many people moving here. But hopefully it doesn't get quite as big.
Hopefully it doesn't. With no slight Ocean City, I'd rather not see it turn into that. The one area that most people moving into new communities now are not going to experience this, but there's enough of it there. I was really surprised to see that fiber optic cable internet is not ubiquitous, available all over this area. It isn't. No. There are areas in Millsboro, the city, that they're not wired for fiber optics, so they're reliant only on an old connection known as DSL, which is 2 steps above dial-up. And that's crazy.
A lot of those cables too are old, and you got the salt and the water table that's so high, and everyone gets frustrated with Mediacom. But honestly, it's just the area we're living in. It doesn't condone longevity of those types of.
But yes, I agree with you. But there's also the situation of areas that just aren't wired.
Yeah,
not wired. I was helping someone a few months ago. It was a Hispanic family. I was asked to do some volunteer work. Their kids were in a foster care situation. Long story, but they needed a video connection to connect with the kids and also to the courts. And someone had donated an iPad. And so I went over there to help them set it up. And this was right off of 24, right near the Love Creek Bridge. And I went in there and I was blown away that not only did they have their fiber optic wasn't available. All they had was DSL, and the DSL connection at that point was very slow. They also were in one of the cellular dead zones. They didn't have any cellular data. It was a very little. It opened my eyes. We read about rural areas way out in Montana or North Dakota that don't have internet. Well, we have some of those spots right here.
Now, it's so funny. When we moved out here, we happened to move in the only area we're in the cross between Bethany Beach, Ocean View, Dagsboro area. And my house is the only area that is in a dead zone. And I'm like, and I've called it a million times. And I have seen like a cell phone tower pop up down by the beach recently. So I think the more people move here, eventually they're going to have to fix these issues around here. But I think it's coming.
Well, you raise that. People who are buying 5G phones, 5G is not available here. And it's not really available. Many cities tout that they have it, but it's not really true 5G. And I won't get into the specifics of it, but what some of the cellular companies have done is they cut back on one of the bands. Actually, Verizon had to add that 3G band back. And so it's people who have bought some of the new 5G phones are having some issues with drop calls. Because of,
doesn't support it here.
Yeah,
definitely. Barry, so you ready to dive into the lightning round?
The lightning round.
All right, here we go. What is your best book, tool, software, or something in your life that has just kind of been a real eye-opener to you? Maybe book, tool, software, video?
Okay. Let me. Favorite book. There's so many. But I'm going to pick Confederacy of the Dunces by John Kennedy O'Toole.
Whoops, say it one more time.
Confederacy of the Dunces.
Confederacies of the
Dunces. Confederacy of Dunces.
Dunces.
Like a dunce.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, Confederacy of the Dunces.
No, I got it. Okay.
Aside from being a wonderfully hysterical book, partly, I love the story behind it. John Kennedy O'Toole wrote the book. He tried to get it published. No publisher, published would touch it. They didn't think it had any mass appeal. He tragically died, and his mother made it her mission to get it, to find a publisher. Well, she did, and the book won the Pulitzer Prize. So it's an awesome story from that. So what else?
Well, that's it. Just one big thing that was a big thing in your life. Now, if you had to pick one bit of advice based on all of your experience in your life, and you could leave the world or your family or somebody with one thing that you could leave behind that was some type of advice in life, what would that be?
Let's see. Perception is reality.
Big one.
Well, I mean, there's so much that I could say, but perception is reality, and I'm guilty of it as much as anyone.
And that goes along with your even the computer thing. People feeling the perception that they can't handle it or can't do something, and
But
really it's just how you're looking at it.
Making quick judgments, and I'm as guilty of it as anybody. And many is the time that I've made too quick a judgment about any number of things, and
love it.
Should have kept an open mind.
All right, loving this. And last question here: what is one question I should have asked you? What's your answer? It could be about gadgets for geezers, or
what's a question? Boy, that's tough, Dylan. You've asked me so much that wow.
I could have nailed it right on the head. Any plans for 2021? How about that?
Any plans for 2021? Well, we're taking it, easy as things go. I hope to get out to California to see both my daughter and my son.
Okay.
That is a definite. You do have, I will say that there is, you mentioned a tool, and I'll leave with this. I don't know that I'd classify, you could maybe some people wouldn't call it a tool, but Apple Watch.
No, don't do it. My wife's trying to get me on board with the smartwatch.
Apple Watch, and now I'm going to hit the senior part of this thing. There are other watches that have, that are out there, wearable technology, but Apple has done an amazing job of making this a device that I think is vital for those of us of a certain age. They have a couple of features. Aside from keeping track of heart rate, you can do EKG, simple EKG tests. It now will test for blood oxygen. But one of the features that I really like a lot, and I think it could be, a life-saving, it has an extremely accurate fall detection feature, where if you fall, it detects you falling, and it will ask you, on the screen, and there'll be a voice. Did you fall? If you don't answer within, I think it is 2 minutes, it will automatically dial your emergency contacts, and if it doesn't reach them, 911. If you did fall and you answer and you say, yes, I fell, it will say, are you okay? Do you need help? And you could simply say, no, I'm not okay. I need help. And it will dial those numbers. That is a feature that is worth, even if you didn't use the watch for a lot else, just to have that.
Wow, Barry, you have just unlocked a lot of stuff I didn't even know. And I used to install, and I mentioned I used to do installations for different things for seniors. It was one of the big things was Life Alert. So I would set up Life Alert.
Yeah, I've fallen. I can't get up. Yeah, that's what this is. That it's aware.
That's what this is. With so many other applications and heart rate and all that stuff. Wow, I never even thought to think of that as a reason to get that for,
And although they touted it, although Apple has touted it, it loses. It just falls behind all the many other features that the watch has. So that it's something I've recommended, to people, that are older. You don't have to be older to appreciate it. Probably more people that are younger have, because it's technology. Mm-hmm. But this is, just that alone, I think is worth
definitely
everything.
Yeah. Barry, man, it has been such a great conversation, and I hope if you're listening that you got something out of this.
I did.
We're going to definitely put some links down below to get a hold of Barry and Gadgets for Geezers. What an awesome way to give back to the community and to help others. And Barry, thanks for being on.
Well, no, thank you very much. This has been fun and most appreciated, Dylan. I think what you're doing is wonderful.
That's great. So, like I said, we're going to drop all the stuff down below, guys. In the meantime, keep living that 302 lifestyle, and we will see you soon.
Just one last thing. I can tell people if they want to go to your YouTube channel, right? To see.
Yep. I'll send you all that information here in a bit. And guys, again, please like, share, subscribe, get this out. And if you're trying to be on the show, or you have some great idea or a great thing that you're doing for the community, please reach out down below and contact us, and we'd love to have you on. So
thanks a lot again, Dylan.
All right, guys.
Bye-bye.
Wish you could spend more time having fun and less time with chores? Go to 302beachtalk.com to get $20 off a home cleaning. You'll be entered to win a completely free cleaning. Eat, play, serve. Sponsored by That Guy with a Broom.